Well, we huh. Well, we welcome you in to a pretty low vibe Thursday night episode of the 4th and 1 podcast. However, onward we go as I'm your co-host, Coach Trey, and joined with me this time with a camera, with a mic, what I can only assume is an alcoholic adult drink of choice. Is your co-host Rusi. Before we get into what's happening, I just want to set the table so that everybody's on the same page. Obviously, appreciate that, Pat. About an hour ago, less than an hour ago, the number one commit for this year's football cycle, number one quarterback, 5-star, all world, all the hype, Bryce Underwood has decommitted and immediately committed to the University of Michigan, obviously from LSU. And with him is Derek Meadows, who is also a Michigan native and was kind of thought to kind of be a not really a package deal from Bryce's perspective, but kind of wants to go where Bryce is going. Kind of felt like he is going to – it was really a shock that he was ever committed to LSU in the first place, as is Derek Meadows. But so you're now losing two. You're now losing two there. Before I let you go into this, I'll say $10.5 million over 3 years is what the pretty confirmed T is. Even weeks before, when it was confirmed over 4 years, you and I both know that it was just the public year. He was never signing anything for 4 years. I'm pretty comfortable in thinking that LSU's deal was going to be for 3 years, was going to make 7 figures a year here. But ultimately, everyone's got a price. Money talks. You see this in, other people have mentioned this with the minor league baseball draft, and now it's here in college football. So with 3 minutes of lead up, Bruce, I'm going to let you go ahead and take this while I try to be and load up to be as good a Christian as I can be before I say what I want to say.
Well, I'd like to interact with you here and there because there might be questions I have that you know the answer to. Okay.
All right.
10.5 was rumored several weeks ago, right? For 4 years. So you're saying the kicker is they took a year off. Okay.
A year.
3.
3.5 a year.
Do you have any idea where LSU was?
No. I am not connected enough to be able to tell you anything like that, but I can absolutely confirm that it was always close enough that the money didn't matter. And this was, his family has religious. I mean, the Shea Dixons of the world, the Billy M bodies, Hayes Fawcett. I mean, everybody that's reporting, these kinds of things has said that it was always close. The family wanted to make a professional NFL decision of developing talent, development. But when $3.5 million a year at 18 years old comes your way, and you can make NFL money and mitigate, even if something unbelievably bad happened to him, injury-wise or to the family, if something happens, $3.5 million a year at 18 years old. So, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've circled around for the last 45 minutes, blaming everyone. I started with Nuss. There's always a critique with him for me. And then I went to Kelly. Then I went to the donors. I've never landed on Bryce. And I don't know if I can. There's a lot going on here. and it's just disappointing, right? I mean, I never really thought he would flip, but after Florida, I thought, okay, yikes. Like this could be bad. I know you disagree. I would think at least part of this, and then I'll say this. Okay, so let's just start. Let's just compare, right? Let's start with the money, right? 10.5 for 3 years is a lot. I don't know where LSU was. I heard they were relatively close to 10 and a half. Maybe not for 3 years, but whatever. To me, let's just start with this. If you're that close from a donor's perspective, why don't you match, right? And look, this is where NIL gets tricky, right? Like Dave Portnoy definitely had some influence on this decision. He willingly, as a fan of the university, is going to compensate this kid, right? And you can consider him a donor. Like there's not a lot of restrictions in place, right? So, I mean, I know he made a video in the past offering $3 million. I know he's heavily involved. That he could be the difference in the year off, one a year. But to me, if we as LSU, if you're donors, I'm just starting with the donors. I'm not pointing blame yet to anyone. From a donor's perspective, why aren't you making the leap? I understand it's a lot of money, but you see where the university as a football program is going as it stands. A lot was harbored on this class coming in this year. So why not? Why was that? And it's easier said than done, right? It's not my money, right? I get it. But just I'm looking at it from a 10,000-foot view with every single LSU donor in the room. Surely there's been some kind of indication that he's leaving for a number, right? If you gather everyone in the room, and if he's asking you, hey, if you match it, I'm here. How do you not gather the money, right? That's my first question. My second question is, what is the answer to that question? Is it a lack of faith in the direction of the program? I understand it's a lot of money, but LSU donors have that money. Okay. So now I'm starting to look at it as, is this more of the donors not having faith in where the direction of the program's going? And I went, that's where I'm at right now. I've landed there. I can blame a million things. That's where I've personally landed. I just think the donors control everything a lot. It's the coach's job in this NIL culture to pitch to the donors in order to get, to pitch these kids to whether they're worth money or not, in my opinion. And I don't know. I don't believe that if you get all these donors in a room, that they're not making the offer to match, whatever the difference is, unless there's a reason why. And I think that reason could be the direction of where the program's going. So that's where I'll start. Not finished, obviously, but I'll leave back to you.
If it were about the direction of the program, then you wouldn't have gotten delivered any sort of money at any point, because you weren't getting that kind of money hand over fist in the NIL space when you were in the SEC championship in year one and you stormed the field against Alabama. There is no year ago national championship winning fan shared price with a baseball team. Also, Louisiana is not a rich Ivy League based school. Michigan is. You can pull up the numbers of the rich people that are in Louisiana as though they have the money to do it, but everyone's got a limit. Everyone's got other things that they're doing. You don't have as much money as Michigan. You do not. I know that this is difficult for you to not understand, but like to accept on face value, There is Ivy League school money. There is bigger city than you money. There is bigger state than you money. And candidly, the reason why this has happened is because you took too long to get Austin Thomas back. You didn't have an organized setup for NIL. LSU was never dead last in NIL, but you never were top of the food chain. Your inability to allocate funds directly from who needed to give them to give it to you is the reason why it's taken you until this point. Okay. And to be completely frank with you, Russo, the words are, and it's not really even like, it's not even something that you have to even fish too far to like think about to be true. Since Jim Harbaugh left, the kid has not stepped foot on Michigan's campus. And he lives 30 minutes away. He lives 30 minutes away. He has to literally pass the campus to get onto the interstate. The kid has paid his own dime to come to Louisiana almost 10 times. You legally had to pay your way to come here that many times. You could say one individual person can fork it up all you want, but you know what else Michigan doesn't have? Michigan doesn't have Jakeem Stewart. Michigan doesn't have Harlem Berry. Michigan doesn't have, well, in reality, they now have one more, but Michigan doesn't have a five-star Cade Phillips. I mean, you want me to keep going? Michigan doesn't have, I mean, how far down the list do you want me to go? DJ Pickett.
Flipping.
Aiden Anding.
DJ Pickett is flipping. Mark my words.
And you know, and what I struggle with is you don't have more money than them, Russo. The kid lives 30 minutes away. You can make that kind of money. They can want to do it. And they more than likely didn't ask the question of, are you willing to do everything that they're doing? And LSU's like, yeah, but everybody's got a limit, bro. The only saving grace is that I know for an absolute fact that LSU is going to spend double what they spent last year in the transfer portal. They're going to.
That's fair. I just, like I said, I just disagree. I disagree with everything.
Russo, you can, and it's your right. It's your right to do so. But I'm not wrong. I'm just so sorry. I'm so sorry, dude. This is logistical. This is numbers. I'm just. I don't want this to be true. You know what I'm saying? And you can make the argument all you want the other way, and whichever way makes you feel comfortable. But that is an Ivy League school with more money than you, and it's 30 minutes away. He lives as close to their campus as you do to LSU. Closer, matter of fact.
Like I said,
you've got several 5 stars, and you got to pay him some kind of way, big dog. You think Jakeem Stewart's free?
Do we have several 5 stars?
You think Jakeem Stewart's free? It's between you and Ohio State, and Oregon's the dark horse. You've got Harlem Berry. You've got the number 1 cornerback. You've got you're trying to flip the number 1 interior offensive lineman from Florida State right now because they lost all their offensive coaching staff. You just got a 4-star that turned into a 5-star. That ups the ante on what he costs. You're getting him from Texas's backyard.
You lost the lure of having the best quarterback.
You did, dude. You did, and it costs money, and everyone's got a price. And the kid is 18 years old, and I can promise you, if either of my 2 nephews who show any promise get offered $3.5 million to do anything legally, to go play a sport somewhere, I'm the first person that's buying the ticket to go and see him.
But that's not the problem. I'm not blaming him. No one's blaming him.
And you're not wrong to want to blame the whole state of affairs, but I'm not blaming them either. You were committed for that long if you're Bryce because you love Joe Sloan and you like the direction that Brian Kelly had under you in developing quarterbacks and developing offensive lines. Now, granted, you and I both know that recruits don't watch games the same way. Recruits don't care if you lose games. That means they get to play sooner and they're going to make their money now. So that is an easy fan narrative that is not true.
Let's look at this situation because this one's unique, right? Nussmeier starts the season projected to be like 5th and 6th in odds for Heisman, has a relatively good start to the season, and is projected to go in the first 2 rounds.
He always knew that Garrett could come back. That was part of the speech. It was, Bubba, you're the future, but Garrett could always come back. He could easily get hurt. He hasn't played football in 4 years. It was always a part. And there's 3 other quarterbacks in that room. It was always a part. He was going to play. It didn't matter.
So you're telling me the regression of Nuss didn't have anything to do with his decision? You think it's just straight money?
None. Because if you're an 18-year-old 5-star quarterback that has literally said, I want to be developed, but I like to play in the offense, that is not the same answer as I'm just trying to go somewhere where I can be part of a team and I could just it's different answers. Like, listen to him talk.
You think he's starting?
Who's that?
Bryce. Who's going to start over him in Michigan?
It's not that it matters. It doesn't really take a whole hell of a lot to hand the ball off 37 times in the snow. But yeah, he's starting game 1.
Okay, so then is that so? It's the same argument. It's the same argument. He was going to come here and be a starter potentially. That's how it looked in the beginning of the season. So
your argument is whether or not he committed to Michigan over not starting the first 3 games or something at LSU, because that's not it, Bruce.
I think it definitely had a part.
You're reaching, bro. I'm sorry. I know you're upset, but you're reaching, dude.
I disagree.
That goes against everything.
I'm not blaming one thing. Like, I'm not blaming the donors. I'm not blaming any one person specifically. However,
blame that.
That's where I lead into, we had the money to match that deal.
Is there anything that you can touch and tangibly use to say that you know for a fact that you do have the money? Because I know what it is that you're reaching for, big dog, and I'm with you. But look at the. Can we just for 1 second do this while we're on the topic? Let's work through this really quickly as an exercise, because this isn't the only thing that we're going to talk about tonight, folks, but this is going to be something that we talk about. Here we go. With Bryce Underwood, you're the 9th ranked overall class according to 247 with Michigan. LSU losing him is still at number 6. It's Bryce. They've got an offensive tackle that's from, looks like, Kansas. And you got a 4-star tight end, 4-star cornerback, 4-star receiver, 4-star cornerback, 4-star safety, 4-star safety. And then you got a 3-star tackle, and then 3-star, 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 3-star. This was supposed to be LSU's new fam. Number 1 quarterback, number 1 receiver, number 1 cornerback, number one this, that, and the third, offensive line. Dog, they're not free, Bruce. And I know that you think they've got the money, but how much do you think a running back goes for nowadays? The number 1 in the country.
Don't know, don't care.
Everything costs money, Anthony.
And I think you know what? He's not the first to go, and he won't be the last. There's going to be several.
You knew that before he decommitted. You always knew that there was going to be casualties from this class. You want to know another one that you're worried about losing? You want to really get into some tea? How about the tight end that you got committed right now? That's from South Carolina, and the team's called him more than I've called my girlfriend in the past 24 hours, and I talk to her 3-4 times a day when I'm not with her. Big dog, you've got other people committed.
How many years, Ben? Did he say? Go on. He just said, Moscona said 12 mil was the number.
This many years. Whatever the public says about 4, I'm telling you right here. You see this number? That's how many was getting signed for.
I don't know what numbers. It's all speculation. I know that all I know is that there was a rumored number for 10.5 mil. that came out a few weeks ago. I don't know. I don't even know what we offered. And all I know is yours was not listed. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's frustrating. It is what it is. I mean, like I said, I'm not like vehemently disagreeing with you. I'm just not going to be thrown off of my stance. And I get it. And like, I get it. Money talks. I get it. I disagree with a few things, but like I said, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know how often we're gonna. Oh shoot! Our number was 8.
Do you think that it makes any sense at all for someone as a booster who's already not giving a lot of money and winning games to then start to really need to continue the momentum? Hey guys, look, year 1, I went to the SEC championship. I need some money. Great. You got it, coach. Hey man, we fell just short last year. We fell just short. I really need some money to make it better. Nah, coach, we're good. We're not going to give you any more money. Knowing that if you don't give money, you're not going to get the same result. Do you honestly believe that the direction of the program, based on what has happened over the last 3 weeks, is why you don't think that you have the money? Russo, whatever money you have to spend on NIL, you've already had for a year. You have the money to pay him now, what you have, unless somebody else comes forward.
So do you think the donors literally just said, hey, too much money? Is that what you think?
There is a pool of money.
I get it.
And what could have happened is that as LSU and as a resource, you say, I've got $20 million to spend. Or call it 15, Russo. I don't know what it is for 1 year. I don't know. But if you've got to give 4 to Bryce, that now means that you can't afford to have 7 other guys in your committed class. So what do you do at that point?
How true is that?
I'm giving you a suggestion that you have a pool of money. If it was legal for BK to just out of his Whitney account and go and give the dude some money, probably would do it.
Of course, I understand, but like, is there a pool and is there a cap?
There's literally a pool. There's literally one. Yes.
But is there a cap on the pool?
I mean, not one that's written down, but it's as much as your donors are willing to give you.
Surely in this scenario, there was word that Bryce was leaving, unless he just absolutely played LSU, which is still on the table, right? However, I'm not going to go there yet. Surely there was word that LSU got that he was going to accept this offer, and here was the offer. You cannot tell me that they, for any good reason, just said, no, we're not going to do it. And look, it's not my money. I get it. I agree with that. Not my money.
You're proving my point.
You cannot tell me that.
You are proving my point that as much money as you literally could get from people, as much as you could get, some donor at their 9 to 5, probably not at a 9 to 5. Some donor on their recliner said, that's all I got to give. That's all I can donate. I can't give you more than 3. But you know what Michigan has? More money than you, big dog. They have more.
Played a huge factor in this. So don't tell me that we don't have fuck you money. Like we do. Like, it's not like we're talking about one player, dude. It's not like we're talking
There
about.
has been no evidence that you have that. There's no evidence in Louisiana's history that has shown that you have that money. You know who's got that?
Who's our number one donor? Who's our number one donor? Raising Cane's.
Says
what's
who?
his net worth?
Says
What's his net worth? What's his net worth? Who is? Then who is? Tell me. Is it Gordon?
If you were going to go down the path of who's the number one donor, word on the street, it might not be the dude that sells chicken fingers.
It was.
I'm not willing to say that because I don't have a confirmation on that. I have an idea that we can share. All I'm willing to tell you, because I'm not going to speak things that I don't know. I literally don't know. I'm not connected enough to know things like that. I am telling you that you looking at a Googled net worth of a person is a very far reach for making you feel better in the situation of a state in a school that is an Ivy League school that literally has more money than you.
So in the world where LSU and some fact does counter, you think Michigan's just going to counter with more?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're Michigan, Russo, this is Leonard Fournette. This is Leonard Fournette. You can't let him leave. And they weren't going to let him leave. They have more money. They are willing to not pay a 5-star running back, a 5-star receiver, 2 5-star cornerbacks, a 5-star offensive lineman. You literally have the number 1 defensive line player in the country is reclassified to come out this same year.
We'll see if they come. I hope they do.
I'm just telling you from an LSU's perspective that you do have other expenses, and I am not telling you this is okay. I am not telling you it's okay. I'm being real with you that the money in Louisiana is not unlimited, and you should know that.
No, I understand as a whole, but in this situation, I disagree.
I understand. Okay. Can we move on? We're 27 minutes in.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on from that, we're 27 minutes into the show. I would really like to talk about a couple of things before we get off here. One of which is why all of a sudden, I guess since we're now going to talk about this, it's probably not a good pivot point considering that the Big Ten just got stronger with this. But unfortunately, the SEC has become the redheaded stepchild of the college football playoff rankings. And you and I have talked about this a little bit off the show. If save me the Midwest Big Ten fan who tells me that Indiana is all of a sudden better than Alabama and Georgia, or based on your record, you have to be ranked where you're at. You have to be. But if you're going to tell me that the strength of record doesn't matter and the strength of schedule doesn't matter, then why is the number 4 team or the number 5 team a 10.5-point dog on the road to the number 2 team?
I mean,
that means you're not actually supposed to be ranked that high. If Vegas says you're a near 2 touchdown deficit.
I agree with you, but unfortunately, that's just not how this works. I mean, Vegas odds apparently mean nothing, and they don't. They don't. And Indiana's going to get in no matter what with a loss here, and we're going to have 3 Big Ten teams. So I mean, where Indiana lands, no idea. They'll probably lose. I think how they lose plays a big factor into the number they land on, but just because it clearly doesn't matter because they will be in. And because teams 9 through 11, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, are favored to beat them, that doesn't make any difference, unfortunately. I don't know if it should. Personally, I think it should because odds makers damn well know how outcomes come. Obviously there's upsets here and there, but Indiana's in. I don't think there's any debate about it. And where they fall will be telling. How they lose will play a big factor in that. So I don't know. Do they fall below Tennessee? What do you think? I mean, what if they lose by the spread? The spread's what? You said
if Indiana loses by 11 points.
That's not a spread, right? I thought it was more than that.
It's 10.5 points.
Oh, is it? Okay.
If they lose by 11 points, they're out of the top 10.
Maybe. I wouldn't say they drop past 11 or 12. They'll still be ahead of Boise State.
I said out of the top 10. You're going to have Ole Miss and maybe not Georgia, since apparently the committee hates Georgia this year. You're going to have them ranked at the highest, number 10.
But where would you put Georgia right now? I mean, I don't know where you could play. You can't put them ahead of Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss
Probably about where they're at. But what it feels like to me is the way they've been treated. It feels like that's the highest that they'll go, unless they win the SEC championship.
I mean, I don't think. I think they are automatically stuck behind Ole Miss. That's just unfortunate. And Tennessee's automatically stuck behind Georgia. Now, how does that make sense, right? Because Tennessee beats Alabama, Alabama beats Georgia. So why is Tennessee stuck in the mud?
You ready to have the discussion that if Texas loses a second game, they shouldn't be in? You ready for that talk?
Agreed. Do you really think they lose to A&M?
I think there's an absolute chance that they could lose to A&M, but it almost doesn't matter because they've been cushioned by this committee so much to show favorability, such that if they do lose, that they'll still have enough position to be in. And it's obvious that it's happening. It's obvious that it's happening.
We crunched a lot of the scenarios the other day. So basically, the winner of that game, A&M and Texas, is in to the conference championship. So and then in a lot of scenarios, Bama is too. So basically, it's going to be the winner of that game versus Bama. Now, here's where I have concerns. How does the committee treat a 2-loss Bama that loses in the conference championship? That's the big question, because now we're getting into why the hell do I even want to be in the championship game if they get punished? And this is the first year this is going to happen. So someone is going to get screwed. What say you? Do they make it if they lose, or does a 3-loss team?
You would have had a better argument against an undefeated, because obviously the Big 12 is only going to get one team in, obviously, because of the. And you know what else they're going to do away with? They're going to do away with conference champions getting an immediate tie-in, because that's obviously throwing a wrench into the situation. But
why? They should get at least one.
Because you are now saying the quiet part out loud if you do it, but they kind of feel like they want to, and that they want to use this eyeball test. They want to use this numbers on papers thing.
Then why is Colorado and BYU playing then? And they got to have a spot, dude.
I don't know. Why does Notre Dame continue to not have to play a conference opponent and just continue to?
That's something I can get behind.
They don't do it in basketball.
I 100% agree. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. So
they'd hate to see a Husky coming.
That's more of an argument I can get behind. I just don't see how you can punish a Big 12 team. They've got to play, and they've got a 9-1 team, and they've got a.
It's hard to make me believe a 3-loss SEC team that loses the SEC championship gets punished by missing out. But I think it depends.
But I have zero idea, because now you go on.
There's no clarity. That's why.
So like, let's just like hypothetically talk. So Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, Indiana are all in.
Yep.
I don't think there's any, unless something tragic happens and Indiana loses again.
Mm-hmm.
Those 4 teams are in, and one is a top 4 seed, right? The winner of the SEC championship gets a spot. That's 2. To me, now we're talking what SEC teams get in. How can you leave Ole Miss out? Ole Miss beats Georgia. Obviously they lost to Kentucky and LSU. Bad losses, but they have the important wins over the important teams, right? So how does how does Ole Miss get left out? How does Georgia get left out, right? Georgia's played the toughest schedule this year. Only managed 2 losses. So you can't leave out Georgia without putting in Ole Miss. So that's 2 SEC teams right there. And then you got Tennessee. So yeah, there could be an issue if Texas loses the national the SEC championship. Are they not in? Because Now we're looking at a strength of schedule conflict with them. So it's going to be, but then once again, you're punishing a team for losing in the conference game. I have zero idea, but someone is going to get screwed out of the SEC, and I believe it's going to be the loser of the championship game. And that's where we have a problem. That's where we have a problem because now you're punishing a team for making the conference championship. And to me, I just don't know. Someone's going to get screwed, but I think that's the route it's going to be because there's too many SEC schools all looped up with 2 losses, and and Boise State's going to get in, or whoever wins that conference will be that 5th team that the conference champion. You'll have 4 Big Ten. You'll have probably 4 SEC. That's 8. You'll have Notre Dame. That's 9. You'll have a Big 12 team, 10, and not Boise. Shit. Honestly, you might have 5 SEC teams. I don't know. It's going to be a mess. But yeah, Texas absolutely should not be. No, they absolutely shouldn't be in. Not over a team like Georgia. It just depends who we're comparing to, right? I mean, you're not going to ever get me to believe Georgia doesn't deserve to be in there for Texas. Bama, tough argument. But they're going to probably play each other. So I don't know. But I agree with you. I mean,
It's clear that there is a direction that this committee wants to decide things. We've referenced the 2019 season before. They are giving cushion and being stern on certain teams and not others, and it's clear and obvious. I couldn't be more unimpressed with Texas's schedule, and the first team that they played that was worth a darn beat the absolute shite out of you, and then a good Vanderbilt team, you nearly escaped by 3. Now, I'm not telling you that I think Texas is bad. As a matter of fact, I think Texas would beat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 7 to 8 other teams that are considered for the college football playoff.
I mean, it's just unfortunately not the name of the game. I'm with you. Strength of schedule. I mean, why are SEC teams scheduling these? Like, if I am
they won't anymore.
If I'm the commissioner of the SEC, I am hard stopping every single one of those games from now on, and I'm saying, hey, you clearly set the standard. LSU don't play USC. Texas A&M do not play Notre Dame. Alabama do not play Wisconsin. Georgia do not play Clemson because those games clearly don't mean anything. Are we just going to glance over Georgia's very first game with Clemson? Dog walk them, okay? A&M, very close game against Notre Dame. Alabama, dog walks Wisconsin. I mean, to me, I'm hard stopping that. I'm not even putting that up to the school. If I'm the commissioner of the SEC, I'm hard stopping that because they have clearly set a standard that strength of schedule does not matter. Now they can fix that, right? To me, I don't know how, because at the snap of a finger, the committee can change their direction on how they view things anytime they want. So now all of a sudden next year, if you cancel all your games, now they're going to probably find a way to incorporate the strength of schedule in there. So to me, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's unfortunate that it comes down to that. But even Texas, just looking at the time that they played some of these teams, Michigan was number 10. Obviously, Michigan sucks, right? But at the time, they're number 10. They beat Oklahoma at the time, they're number 18. Lost to Georgia, who was number 5. Beat Vanderbilt, who was a top 25 team, barely. And they've got number 15 A&M coming up, which is a huge game. So, I mean, if they get past A&M, I think all the skepticism goes away. If they lose, then I don't know. From hindsight, the schedule doesn't look great, right? Because Oklahoma didn't pan out. Michigan didn't pan out. And Vanderbilt's probably their best win. and that's not a great. I mean, Florida honestly is probably one of their better ones. I mean, Florida
I agree.
has turned that season around, even with a very unfortunate, set of circumstances. And that's why we can. I don't even know if you want to talk about that game from last week, but yeah, we can get on to. I know you said you had 4 games you wanted to talk about, so
let's go rapid fire because we're up against the clock. By the way, $4 million a year for Bryce Underwood was what is this discussed number? By the way,
so 12 for 3.
What you know about the old adage in this game from friends that have made it is that's just what you know about. You don't know about the other part. Penn State on the road at Minnesota on an 11.5-point spread. Who you got?
Say that again.
Penn State on the road at Minnesota, 11.5. PJ Fleck in the sweater vest, 11.5-point dogs at the crib.
I'm assuming you're on the side of the home team here, correct?
I'm just asking.
I'd always take Minnesota. I like their defense a lot, and I don't see Penn State getting into any kind of deal where they're going to go to Minnesota and dog walk them.
And you were on Ohio State at 10.5?
That's a huge statement game. So here's my issue with Ohio State. They're pretty damn good, right? Can we agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, do I trust this team against the spread? I don't know. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat by a lot, right? But then you had a couple close games and a couple close calls in there. And one of those was a loss. I think it's a statement game. We'll really find out. I don't know. I don't want any part of that game. It's in the end of the season. Maybe. I doubt it. But I think
they're 5-5 against the spread as a favorite. As a home favorite, 3-3.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really trust them. I mean, Indiana's, for what it's worth, probably better against the spread, I'm assuming. However, haven't had the type of schedule. I'm just not a huge believer in Will Howard, man. I think they've got probably the best team outside of the quarterback. Outside of Oregon, those are probably the 2 best teams.
All right.
But I don't want any part of that game. If
Colorado
taking Ohio State, but I don't like it.
Dion and the sweet old lady on the road at Kansas, 3.5-3-point favorites.
Kansas is hot, man. Kansas is hot. I mean, we looked at that game last week against BYU, and they kind of dominated that game. It was only 17-13, but for a team that had 3 wins, shit. Give me Kansas at home.
Okay.
And let's put a stop to this freaking Heisman hype, okay?
There's only one. America's team on the road at the Fighting Agitators of Notre Dame with a 2-touchdown favorite at the crib. Because Army is the best team that you get to play all year outside of a game 1 new coach at Texas A&M. Good win for the Irish.
I mean,
Army 2 touchdowns, 14.
Notre Dame handled Navy. Now, is Army better than Navy?
Didn't Navy turn the ball over more times in that game than in the whole season?
I'm assuming they did. I mean,
I wasn't asking.
It's 6 turnovers. Damn, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Does Army turn the ball over that much? No. Even if they turn it over half the time, take off 21 points off the board, you make it 30-14. So you're close.
2 touchdowns is 2 touchdowns.
I mean, Notre Dame had the Brian Kelly aura with them, right? They couldn't win the quote-unquote big game. Is this really a big game? They should handle their business, man.
They couldn't win the big game, and you're talking about the national championship because this just in, when offensive line meets defensive line, and offensive line is 6'6", 340, and your defensive line is 6'2", 280, there's a little bit of a mismatch, by the way. Notre Dame can't accept the fact that you don't get to recruit that to Notre Dame. But go on.
Notre Dame should handle their business.
I agree.
love it, but I mean, am I pulling for me?
Dude, I've made
Notre
more money. I've made more money on Notre Dame this year than almost any other college football team.
Yeah, no, they're outside of Northern Illinois. They've been relatively. Are you talking about betting against them?
Dude, no, because you bet on under their pass yards and on their spread and at mid game because you can see how their game's going to go. If they start hot, they're fine.
I mean, they had that hiccup against Northern Illinois, who ended up somehow ranked after that win. I don't even know. Northern Illinois is what 6-5 in the MAC now. Can you believe Northern Illinois was ranked in the top 25? That's absurd. To me, I just don't trust Notre Dame. I don't think it's a big game though, so they should handle their business. Give me Notre Dame. Don't love it.
All right.
So
that would be Minnesota, Kansas, and Notre Dame.
I mean, look, I don't know how you feel about A&M and Auburn.
A&M's going to dog walk that team.
Do you know what the spread of that game is?
12.
2.5.
What?
2.5 on the road. 6
what?
51 degrees at Jordan Air Stadium.
They're playing at Jordan Hare, and they're a 2.5 point favorite.
A&M.
At Auburn?
2.5. Yeah.
Am I missing something?
When you ask that question, Trey, something's wrong. Okay? We asked that question several times about BYU, and they got away with it until last week. Something's up there.
What is their splits? What's their splits? Come on now, pay a lot of money for okay.
And honestly, while we stay here, we're going over the time, but this is a very important episode because one, we literally just got hit with horrible news, just like getting broken up with by your high school sweetheart. Two, can we rid me of playing freaking UMass and UTEP and the Citadel in week 13? Rid me of bullshit, because what are we doing?
Obviously doesn't matter because Texas does it and they're number 4, dude. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Play them.
Give me Kentucky against them too. Kentucky's a very sneaky team. Just random.
Won a game and it was against Ole Miss.
Dude, they arguably could have beat Tennessee. I watched that game. And they beat Ole Miss, and they should have beat Georgia.
I told everybody last week that Florida was about to beat Tennessee and Georgia, and no one listened to me. No one listened to me.
Kentucky's just that team that, for some reason, plays everyone close. Give me plus 20. Give me that all day, every day, not twice on a Sunday. That's all I've got. I mean, LSU's probably going to lose this weekend.
I like Vandy in the spread.
I like Vandy in the alternate spread of 6.5. This team is cooked. You didn't like the title. This team right now is as cooked as any
Cavalry's on the way.
Yeah, whatever.
Cavalry's on the way.
Who?
Let's Cavalry's on the way. Let's go. Let myself say an act of contrition because I'm about to blow
me
my
and
top.
Trey have ever disagreed and argued, but that's just how real this gets. And also, you can tell we're not freaking mad either at each other. We're just friends. We like to cut it up with football.
We're going to talk about it together.
Disagree on LSU football, just like I do with a lot of my diehard friends that love LSU. And to me, I have a very loose stance compared to them. So that's why you're going to get my perspective compared to theirs. And it's respectable. So anyways, that's it. 50 minutes on the dot. See y'all next week.